Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about a ridiculous interpretation of California law that is leading to a bunch of different various businesses and organizations being sued for discrimination under this law because they're doing promotions like Ladies' Night. Yes, this is a real story. Yes, this is really stupid and unfortunate. And the thing is, it's already hard enough to be a business owner, a small business owner, a restaurant owner in the state of California. But this is just one more thing, one more straw on the camel's back that appears to be breaking a bunch of businesses, but specifically ended up destroying this bar and restaurant that is family owned and has been in operation for 9 years. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
In the East Bay now, a family-run restaurant is reportedly shutting down because it held a ladies' night promotion and had to settle a discrimination lawsuit. Now, due to financial concerns, the owner of Lima in Concord says she's forced to close at the end of the year.
So this is one of those stories where technically, probably, according to the letter of the law, if you have no human judgment at all whatsoever, it is a textbook case of discrimination, because in these particular instances where ladies' night occurs, ladies are often admitted to clubs for free, or maybe they get drinks at half off prices or something of the sort. And technically, again, according to the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law, this could be interpreted as discrimination. Now, the law at the center of this question is California's UNRRA Civil Rights Act of 1959, which bars all discrimination in all establishments based on disability, based on age, based on race, and based on, of course, sex. So, ladies' night in this particular instance is what is being targeted by essentially a scumbag lawyer who is suing a bunch of different various organizations, and we're going to get into some of those in just a little bit in the hopes of soliciting a settlement, which, by the way, was received in this particular case, and that is what has crippled the business. But let's get a little bit more into this local news segment. I also have an additional article that I want to go over, and then we're going to talk about how stupid this is and how ridiculous people are for getting obsessed over things like Ladies' Night in just a little bit.
The sign on the door makes the closure clear, while inside customers are enjoying one last cocktail, one more meal at Lima.
It's just sad. It's just so sad.
The family-run restaurant in downtown Concord has been around for nearly 9 years and is now set to close permanently at the end of the month.
I mean, I love this place. It's like they're like family to us.
The owner telling us they haven't been able to fully bounce back from the cost of settling a recent discrimination lawsuit related to discounting drinks for women on its ladies' night.
A frivolous lawsuit that took us down, and it's these ambulance-chasing lawyers.
So this is a Peruvian establishment right here. It became a staple in this particular community. You've heard from some of the customers about how they really love the place, they love the food and all that. And you could just imagine being in the state of California, being able to survive the pandemic lockdowns of that particular state, while of course Governor Gavin Newsom is having private dinners at high-end restaurants and keeping his own businesses open. And then all of a sudden you get a stupid lawsuit dropped on you related to discount drinks for ladies during a ladies' night, and you can't deal with it even though you ultimately ended up settling that lawsuit. And that's really the business model of the people who sue under these civil rights statutes. And this is one of the reasons why people who aren't cowards, who are on the right wing, will often call out these civil rights lawsuits, because in reality, it's not about objective discrimination that is negatively biased against one group or another. Oftentimes, they're exploited in order for trial attorneys to file these particular suits and then extort money from these business owners, because it becomes much, much cheaper in order for you to settle the suit rather than actually fight it out in court. Essentially, the process becomes the punishment, and lawyers like the attorney in question right here have filed hundreds of these suits, and since they're an attorney themselves, they cover their own litigation costs, and it never actually ends up piling up against them. And because we don't have a loser pay system in ridiculous cases like this, there is no disincentive against this. Now, I just want you to think about all the ridiculous things that the state of California is doing legislatively, all the environmental regulations, all the restrictions that they're imposing on people and their everyday lives, and realize that at no point in time has the state of California, which is run by the progressive Democrats that supposedly care about the little guy, considered revising these statutes in any meaningful way in order to prevent lawsuits like this from happening. And again, the targets of these lawsuits are not just this Peruvian restaurant in the Bay Area. It's other organizations and ones you wouldn't even think of that have had ladies' nights that are also being bogged down by these suits, despite the fact that they're ill-equipped in order to fight against them. And again, the ladies' night promotion actually is intended in large part to benefit the business, of course, but also intended to benefit men. I mean, if you go to a bar and you're looking to meet women and there are no women there, I'm sure you would be happier that their drinks, which you as a guy might likely be buying, are half off, and you could take advantage of that promotion in order to meet somebody, have a good time, form a community. And I know this might sound very foreign to many of you guys who spend all your time on the internet, but this is how real world people used to meet each other and engage with the real world. But it's being taken down again by an attorney, and there are many of these attorneys across the country, and of course by the California legislature essentially being derelict in their duty and imposing these ridiculous regulations haphazardly on these small businesses.
Several similar lawsuits have been filed throughout the country, taking aim at variations of Ladies' Night, including earlier this year in Fresno, when its minor league baseball team was sued over a Ladies' Night promotion.
It was exactly that, discrimination over ladies' night. Mm-hmm.
Did it surprise you? Were you shocked by that?
I was, a lot, yeah. I've never seen, I see ladies' night everywhere else.
And this is how ridiculous these lawsuits have gotten. Yes, you heard that right. A minor league baseball team was also sued for ladies' night promotion, again, likely by the same attorney, who is just trying to extract as much money as possible, exploiting California's discrimination laws in order to do so. And I know some people out there in my audience are going to say, well, stop trying to privilege the women. This is a democracy, not a simptatorship. Stop simping, Sean. But the fact of the matter is, it's ridiculous and absurd. And if this were an instance where somebody was suing over something related to a racial discrimination, like you sue an Irish club because they have a bunch of Irishmen in it and there's not enough blacks, many of you would be understanding that this is absurd from top to bottom. But for whatever reason, when it comes to ladies' night, there's always a small fringe contingent who's like, that is discrimination. You shouldn't be able to have that. How dare you? You should punish the ladies because, oh my God, this is absurd in every possible way. I mean, if they had an equivalent of this for occupation, then veterans discounts would likely be discontinued and be something that you could sue over. If they had an equivalent of this, which they do, by the way, for senior citizens, then all those senior discounts that are all around the country would also be vulnerable to this lawsuit. And honestly, I feel terrible for actually saying that out in public, because in reality, I'm sure there's an ass lawyer that's out there that is looking for another reason to extort businesses. And again, this is what we call the leech class, or I'm going to call the leech class in the United States of America, because they end up targeting productive members of society. They end up exploiting, again, the top leeches' laws, which are the state governments, the federal government, and the regulators. And this is all at the cost of the host, the productive people in society, the business owners. And it's really just tragic that they end up having to shut down on New Year's Eve over the fact that they could never recover from the costs of settling this lawsuit. Now, one of the main lawyers behind this is a San Diego-based lawyer called Alfred Rava, who has filed hundreds of these lawsuits across the state of California against women's organizations and women-only events, from the Grizzlies promotion, which is that minor league baseball team, to female-led startups and Mother's Day freebies, claiming that they're unfair to men. Rava did not respond to CNN's request for comment. The article is done by CNN, but in 2018, he told Bloomberg that he was an advocate for diversity and equal treatment, and that, quote, every one of the defendant businesses stopped their sex discrimination against millions of Californian consumers after I filed my lawsuits. Now look, there are legitimate discriminatory policies that are against men that you could actually file lawsuits over. When people decide that they're going to go out of their way to hire women in many circumstances over men, privileging them over men, or any of these these other circumstances where like you have state money or federal money going to grants specifically for women businesses and all of that, but not included in this group of legitimate lawsuits or legitimate complaints that can be filed, in my opinion, are Mother's Day promotions and Ladies' Night promotions. Again, this is absurd, and the guy's quote about how he's fighting back against discrimination and he's for equal treatment, that by the way dates back to all the way in 2018, just to show you how crazy this person is ridiculous and absurd from top to bottom. So I don't want to judge all of the hundreds of lawsuits that this guy has filed, but in reality, what he's doing is crushing legitimate small businesses, just trying desperately to do a promotion in order to bring people in, and there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, just imagine if they started suing gay bars in San Francisco because they don't cater to women enough. They seem to be very men-centric. I think a lot of people would understand that even though this is technically, if you want to be ridiculous and absurd and to the letter of the law, something that you could call discrimination based on sexual orientation, in reality, we understand that that is a business specifically catering to that demographic. But on top of that, Ladies' Night is not even expressly catering to women. Sure, it's trying to bring them in. Sure, they get the discounts, but it's actually trying to draw in more men by discounting the admission to women, because a lot of people judge the kind of clubs and the kind of bars that they go to, or at least a lot of straight men, and maybe this guy in San Diego is not among them. Maybe California just doesn't understand straight people anymore because they're too busy trying to trans your kids or something. But yeah, straight men tend to go to the bars with the pretty women, and if the drinks are discounted for the pretty women, then maybe, just maybe, they'd be more likely to go to the bar or go to the restaurant in this particular instance. So it ends up backfiring on everyone except for, I guess, the gays. Like, the gays are protected in this because, oh my god, we have to definitely protect them in the Bay Area because we know California, it's 100%, it's not good enough for the gays. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you support this, you're wrong, and or you're probably a gays, and honestly, maybe both. So what the hell is wrong with you? Who is defending this? You shut up.
According to the state, gender-based promotions like Ladies' Nights can land businesses in legal trouble, violating California's Civil Rights Act. Here at Lima, the cost of the lawsuit just piled on to an already tough time, with high inflation driving up the cost of getting these meals to the table.
With restaurants, it's already, the profit margins are razor thin, and stuff like this does not help business at all. It's just, I don't know what should be done about it. Maybe the city or the state should change some rules to help out the small businesses.
You know, every time I watch this particular clip, it makes me even more sad than the previous time I watched it, because one of the things that I noticed in the lower third, and maybe if you're listening via podcast form, then you don't understand this, is that this guy is not only the owner of the restaurant, but he's also the chef of the restaurant. So this is very likely his passion project. He managed to keep it in business for 9 years, which, by the way, is no small feat if you know about the razor-thin profit margins. He managed to survive the COVID pandemic and the severe lockdowns in California and the even more severe additional restrictions that the Bay Area was known for in the state of California. Makes it through all that, but he ends up trying to do a promotion in order to bring people in, and he's crippled by a discrimination lawsuit. Again, something that was productive, something that was valuable, something that involved the dream of this individual ends up being ripped away from him, all because they don't have the money to fight against a frivolous lawsuit, and they ended up having to settle because, again, we live in a society where the process is the punishment, where the costs are overwhelming, and guess what? In addition to that, even if he would have won, it would have cost him way more money, and he likely would still be out of business. So again, if you're in the California state legislature, do what he said. Change the law. Make it make sense. Carve out exemptions for Ladies' Night or Guys' Night or whatever. This should be protected. You should be allowed to do this because obviously the heart of a discrimination law is not this. It's refusing service to somebody based on their skin color, refusing service to somebody based on their gender or sex. It's not the idea that you're going to not allow them to have innovative promotions or even not so innovative promotions, because Ladies' Night has been around forever. And unfortunately, there's 22 states with civil rights statutes that are very similarly written to this, where businesses could just be victimized by over overzealous attorneys looking for a quick settlement.
These customers agree.
It's very sad to see a lot of family-run places in downtown Concord disappearing.
And soon it won't be the same for these servers or staff here, soon to be out of a job.
I'm really, really disappointed and sad. I was getting really accustomed to the community and knowing all the regulars that come to the restaurant.
These regulars fitting in as much time as they can before the doors close on December 31st.
There's a lot of people that come here that enjoy this place, and this is the end of it.
And now we see the other impacts, the other downstream effects of these kind of lawsuits, because it's not just the business owner, again, the chef owner in this instance, who put his own money into it, did his own risk, and was successful for 9 years in the state of California, in the Bay Area, where rents are up and all the restrictions that we talked about earlier. But it's also all the staffers, all the line cooks, the people who are actually serving people these plates and whatnot, and reliant on that for their income. But you think they benefit from this discrimination lawsuit? You think the men and women that work here are really all that upset about ladies' night when their paycheck is on the line? This is just nonsense that you can expect from California. You can expect from these anti-business kind of legislations. And of course, again, overzealous, opportunistic lawyers that essentially, in my opinion, are running extortion schemes because they know that their lawsuits end up costing the people who are being sued so much more money, and they're very likely to be fought back, as reported by that CNN article. Most of these cases are settled out of court, and the thing is, these stats end up being utilized in all these numbers about how there's still so much discrimination out in the world, so it also gives us a false perception, a false number in order to cite to talk about how there's so much evil discrimination in the world when this is just not it. Now, of course, I will leave this off to you guys out there in the audience. What do you think? If you have a bad take about how this is acceptable behavior, filing these lawsuits, go ahead, leave it in the comments. I will definitely judge you for it, but you could feel free to do so. As usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about California's civil rights law going awry. Till next time.